Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Since the living entity is associated with material nature, he is in an awkward position. But if in the human form of life he is taught how to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotee, this position can be overcome. Purport. The word Prakriti means material nature. The word Prakriti means material nature, and Purusha may also refer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one wants to continue his association with Prakriti, the female energy of Krishna, and be separated from Krishna by the illusion that he is able to enjoy Prakriti, he must continue in his conditional life. If he changes his consciousness, however, and associates with the Supreme, Original Person, Purusham, Shashvatam, or with his associates, he can get out of the entanglement of material nature. As confirmed in Bhagavad-gita, Chapter 4, Text 9. Janma karma chame devyam evangyo veti tatvataha. One must simply understand the Supreme Person, Krishna, in terms of his form, name, activities, and pastimes. This will keep one always in the association of Krishna. Tyaktva dehang punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. Thus, after giving up his gross material body, one accepts not another gross body, but a spiritual body in which to return home back to Godhead. Thus one ends the tribulation caused by his association with the material energy. In summary, the living entity is an eternal servant of God, but he comes to the material world and is bound by material conditions because of his desire to lord it over matter. Liberation means giving up this false consciousness and reviving one's original service to the Lord. This return to one's original life is called mukti, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Muktir hit vanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. Does anyone know the translation of that? Muktir hit vanyata rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. Anyone? It's important. It's a definition of mukti as given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Padmanabh, do you have that printout? You're going to give me one more printout? Don't you? Looks like no. All right. Mukti, the definition of mukti is giving up anyata rupa, the other kind of form. One is situated in one's swarup, one's own form. So this is in contradistinction to the impersonal idea of liberation, where one gives up form to become formless. But here this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's stated that mukti means to be free from all other kinds of form and to be situated in one's own form. Which links, of course, with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement, Jiva Swarup Hai Krishna Nityadas. The Swarup, or the original position and form of the living being, is as a servant of Krishna. You may wonder why I chose this verse, which deals philosophically with the position of the conditioned soul and how he can be liberated from that. Why I chose to speak on this on Janmashtami, which is a festival, and we want to celebrate Krishna's birthday. Or any philosophy. That's for the other days. But this appearance of Krishna in the world should be understood, as we say, philosophically. I say as we say philosophically because the word philosophy in English is an approximation, not a very good approximation, but you have to deal with whatever funny language you have, of the terms such as tattva darshan, seeing reality, as we have in Bhagavad-gita. One should approach tattva darshis, those who've seen the truth. Tattva gyan, knowledge of the categories, or darshan, to see. Bhagavad-gita is the most important introductory book of spiritual knowledge, which deals with Arjuna's distress, and Krishna, in addressing Arjuna's distress, addresses the distress of every living being in this material world who is Arjuna thought, I'm distressed because of the situation on the battlefield, but actually the distress of the conditioned soul is just being in this material world. So then Krishna speaks to Arjuna not just to how to get out of this battlefield situation. In fact, he didn't want him to get out of that situation, but to get out of this suffering condition altogether. And although there are several indications of how that may be possible, the most important, practical, and most fulfilling is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the purport to this verse which we just read today. Janma karma cha me divyam evang yo veti tattvataha tyaktva dehang punar janma naiti mam eti sojana. Maybe because we've heard it so many times, this verse, we tend to take it as something quite normal, but it's actually an overwhelming statement. A similar statement was made by Haridas Thakur, that simply by chanting the holy names, even without complete purity, one can be liberated from this world, which the some of the learned persons present in the assembly when Haridas said that, well, people are going through so much difficulty over many lifetimes to get liberated, and you say that just by chanting the holy names, even without complete purity of consciousness, nama bhas, that one can be free from the bondage of birth and death. So Krishna similarly states in Bhagavad-gita, if one can understand the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities in this world, one know on giving up this body, not bahunam janmanam ante jnanavang mam prabha, not after many lives, but even in this life, one is liberated from having to come back again and goes to Krishna. So the significance of Janmashtami, it's a joyful festival, no doubt, in the house of Nanda Maharaj, which is manifest in many places. There's a great festival. Manifest in many places means that temples of Krishna, they're also houses of Nanda Maharaj. It expands, especially the Vallabh Sampradaya. They particularly worship Krishna in the mood of a child. And the temples, they don't look like temples. They look like houses, because Krishna wasn't born in a temple. He was born in a house. There's another reason for that also, but that's the best reason why they're built like houses. So, child is born. It's a very joyful occasion. Even up to the present day, those kind women who don't abort their children are usually, not in all cases, but usually they feel happy when a child is born. So still some motherly sentiments are there, despite all propaganda to kill the child and kill the motherly sentiment. When Krishna was born, there was great rejoicing in Nanda Gokulam, in the land of Nanda Maharaj. We may say that, yes, because Krishna is born, but they didn't know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is born. In Mathura, Vasudeva and Devaki, they knew. But no one else knew, and they kept it a secret. They knew the Supreme Lord was born because he appeared as an Adbhuta Balaka, an astonishing form, a child with 4 arms. We have the picture of the 4-arm Narayan form, but it specifically states in Bhagavatam, the child with 4 arms. But in Nanda Gokulam, there was no consciousness of Krishna. He wasn't even named at that time. Was he? Yes, but not the people of Vrindavan. They didn't know. They were very happy that anyway everyone becomes happy when a male child is born in Vedic culture, not female children. Sorry, but that's just stating a fact here. When a male child is born, particularly, become very happy, and particularly because Nanda Maharaj was the Maharaj. He was the leader of and protector of the whole cowherd community, and even more so because he and his wife were quite old, and it wasn't expected they were going to have any children, which is a great distress to not have children. It's considered actually a symptom of sinfulness in a previous life. If one doesn't have a male child, it's a great calamity, actually. So they were very happy, and even more so because they're all devotees of Krishna, though they didn't know that philosophically that we are devotees of Krishna, and Krishna was born, and they thought now everything will be auspicious. But practically from the moment Krishna was born, all inauspicious things, apparently inauspicious things, started to happen. So many demons came and started attacking. But due to Mother Yashoda's having worshipped Narayan in her childhood, Narayan always saved Krishna from all these demons attacking. That's what she thought. She didn't know that he is Narayana himself. And if she had known, then the whole fun of Krishna Lila, the joy of Krishna Lila, it would not be as it is. So we're celebrating. Actually, tomorrow is the celebration of Krishna's birthday. What happens when someone's born at midnight? Then you're not sure whether it's this day or that day.
Back in those times, midnight didn't mean anything. Everything was sunrise to sunset.
No, there are also divisions. Ashtapraha. The day and night is divided. So, Krishna is born. Someone else is born on the same day. Who else? Who else? Subhadra. Subhadra. She is also born on the same. It's also Subhadra's birthday. We tend to forget that. She is also born. She manifested in Mathura as the material energy personified. Someone much, 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 much less important. Well, I guess many people are also born on the same day. But on Janmashtami day, I was also born. And today is my 40th birthday. Am I cheating here? I was initiated, first initiation, as they say, Bhakti-Vedanta Mana, in 1975, by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, by his mercy. So I was also, after many, many births, I got a real birth at Bhakti-Vedanta Mana. You could say, well, I was already chanting Hare Krishna before that. But that's something, actually in Indian understanding, the birth is at the moment of conception. And then when you come out of the womb, that's Garbhastha, being situated in the womb, and Bhumistha, being situated on the earth. So in that sense is my birthday. I don't know the date I still don't know the date when I'm going to surrender to Krishna. Still praying for that. There's resistance. We should not resist. We should come out of that consciousness. This whole point. The word is given here. Viparya means opposite. Viparyaya smritihi. That's stated in Bhagavatam. We are in this material world because of a different way of thinking to that which we should think. And we say, well, who are you to say why we should think like this? Well, if we think like that, then we remain in the material world. The idea that everyone should think what they like, it's a good formula for staying in the material world. But we should think of Krishna. For our own benefit, we should think of Krishna. And then go to Krishna. So who is this Krishna? There's such a big fuss over someone who lived such a long time ago. Yes, big fuss. Not a big enough fuss. When the whole of London celebrates Janmashtami, then we'll think that, all right, now our movement's becoming a little successful. What will people be going to do? Shopping on Oxford Street. Goes on every day, almost every day. Wasting their life, wasting their time. Working. Saturday means football in London. Completely forgetful of Krishna. This little Vaikuntha bubble is here in the heart of London. May the kirtan resonate throughout the whole city and beyond. Actually, the kirtan does resonate, doesn't it, throughout the world. The people hear the holy name, see the devotees throughout the world. So who is this Krishna? Any answers? Anyone wants to say? Who is Krishna? Come on, you're all dedicated your life to worshipping him. You should be able to say who he is. Yeah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the... from our situation in this material world, the first answer is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you ask Mother Yashoda, she won't say that. She'll give a different... Any other suggestions? Krishna is Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana. Well, that's several answers all in one, isn't it? He's the supreme controller. His form is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. He is beginningless. He is the origin of everything. He is Govinda, which means that he is the giver of pleasure to the land, the cows, the earth. That's one of the meanings of Govinda. He is the cause of all causes. Anything else? Bhagavan. Yeah. Bhagavan. That is a term which is summarized as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is full in 6 major opulences. So there are many definitions of Krishna, actually unlimited, because he has unlimited qualities. Therefore he has unlimited names which describe those qualities, as Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport. One must simply understand the Supreme Person Krishna in terms of his form, names, activities, and pastimes. So there are many forms of Krishna: Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, Kurma. He also appears as a baby, as a child, as a Kishore youth, and as the Prince of Dwaraka. He has so many names, so many activities and pastimes. So in all these ways, Krishna may be understood in according to his... How is anyone understood? Who is such a person? We may say the name, just like the name John Smith. Who is John? It's a name, but it doesn't... All you can understand from the name is that it attaches to a person. But what else? What else is there to be known? Well, there are so many things. Where does he live? Who is the son of? Who he is the father of? What does he do? What are his activities? There are so many biographies written in the world of various people, and it describes about their activities, their likes and dislikes, their good qualities, their bad qualities. People are interested in people, and Krishna is the Supreme Person. So to understand Krishna means to be liberated from this material world and go to Krishna. But even to have the desire to understand Krishna and go to Krishna, first we'll have to hear something. If we just approach anyone out on the street that, oh, you can go to Krishna by understanding, why they won't be interested. Why, what is this? If we say to someone, John Smith, do you know John Smith? No, and why should I? There's so many people. Why should I be interested in whoever that person might be? So even to have the desire to understand Krishna and to go to him, first one must have some information about Krishna and of our own position. Mostly we don't know what our own position is. We identify with the name, form, qualities and activities that we have inherited, imbibed, according to our past pious and sinful activities. And we presume that this is me. And we presume, when we hear of Krishna, we presume he's another person just like us. We have to hear about Krishna. Information has to be given about Krishna. But even before that, to understand, I'm suffering. We are in such a precarious situation that we have received this human form of life. We can get free from birth and death simply by knowing about Krishna, about his appearance in this world, which is being celebrated today. But we don't even understand that we have any need to come out of this material world. And therefore our human form of life is wasted. We're born and we die. That's the biography. There are literally thousands of biographies of various people. But unless they're Krishna conscious, then what we can say about them, they're born and they died. There's nothing else. Heno avatar ja roti nahi belo, Lochan bole shei papi elo or gelo. About Nityananda Prabhu, Lochan Das says that the sinful person who has no attachment to Nityananda, what can you say about them? They came and they went, that's all. It's just Chitragupta, the clerk of Yamaraj. He just kept a record. He came, he died, and these are all the sins. Okay, throw him in that hell. For a start. Nothing of any importance. But one who knows Krishna, his transcendental nature, then a major event takes place. I said my birthday. This is why not the birthday? That actually it's more than 58 Earth years since this body popped out of the womb of my mother, as I say, my mother. So why should I consider birthday 40? Well, this is the real birthday. Because now we have this practice in ISKCON of celebrating the birthdays, which is suitable for gurus, but not for others, according to Srila Prabhupada, as Tamal Krishna Maharaj said. We shouldn't celebrate the birthdays of others. But we should know that to take a birth, it's not something to celebrate. Every birthday is death day. Every day, every moment, we're going closer and closer to death. So it's nothing to celebrate. That I got born in this material world is nothing to celebrate. It means it's just another phase in our rebelliousness against Krishna. So the real birthday means when we get initiated into that life, real life, which will take us to eternal life in the service of Krishna. Now, Krishna's birthday is being celebrated. And who is Krishna? So many people will give different answers. You all gave very nice answers, because you are all so fortunate. We are all so fortunate to have heard from Srila Prabhupada. But there are many people who will give different answers, and we tend to presume that because we study Bhagavad-gita, the Bhagavad-gita is just like that. And actually it is just like that. But many people read Bhagavad-gita and they don't find Krishna at all. They think that Krishna, he's maybe some literary device, or just someone who happened to speak it. But they don't give importance to Krishna. But many people have never heard of Krishna. Many people who have heard of Krishna, most of them have misconceptions. They don't take him seriously. They don't know him properly. So Janmashtami, here especially, there's so many temples which Srila Prabhupada established throughout the world, and after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance from our mortal vision, so many more temples of Krishna have been established all over the world. But this temple, by its very strategic positioning, is most suitable for fulfilling the mission of Krishna. Why does Krishna come to this world? To tell us that if we understand him, we can go to him. Here in this verse, it's stated how we come to this world. Where is that? I can see. We come to this world impelled by our association with material nature. But Krishna, he's not in, even if he comes to this world, but he's not impelled by material nature. He says, Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim svamadhishtaya sambhavame atma mayaya. He says, I'm unborn. I never deteriorate. I'm neither born nor do I die. But I appear within this material nature by my own maya. Maya means illusion. Many people, even though Krishna comes, they don't recognize him. By his own mercy, maya means mercy. By his own energy, by his own desire, Krishna comes. And the next verse after that is Janma Karma Chame Devi. Yeah. So Krishna, he comes within the material nature, but he's not affected by it. This point, Krishna says, if we understand, divyam means transcendental. If one can understand this point, then just by understanding this, one can go to Krishna. But it may be very difficult to understand, because Krishna, he acts as if an ordinary person. Is that correct? Maybe. But let's turn it around and say that ordinary people are trying to act like Krishna. We think that Krishna is one of us, but we are imitating him. Krishna has a father and mother. Krishna eats, he sleeps, he has friends and enemies. And we also have, so we think he's one of us. But no, we are imitating him. This should be understood. We have to see through the eye of Shastra, which describes Krishna is always transcendental to this material nature, even though he appears within it. Etadishanam ishasya prakritis to pitad gunai na yujjate sadatmastai yatha buddhis tadashraya. This verse comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam just after describing how Krishna in Dwaraka, his queens, they would try to entice him by their loving service and flirtatiousness, but Krishna, he's not disturbed. Because the very nature of his being, what is the nature of him being God? We can say, well, he's all powerful. But here the definition of God, the supreme controller, Isha, this verse is given here in this verse also, is that even though he's situated in material nature, he's not bound up in it. He's completely aloof from it. And his devotees, they also partake of the same nature. So this point, to understand, how will we understand? Well, first we have to know what are Krishna's activities, and then understand how he is transcendental. That means that this is a call, this Bhagavad-gita verse, Janma karma chame devyame vangyo veti tatvata tyaktva dehang punar janma naiti mameti sojana. It is a call to study Srimad Bhagavatam, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We say study, but actually, traditionally, study means to hear, to verse by verse, have it explained verse by verse. Reading is also there, but traditionally that would mean hearing, studying. Studying means this: to understand Krishna, and to understand Krishna, how will we understand Krishna? Purity is also required. The purity means purity of intention and purity of lifestyle. One cannot understand God, the Supreme Pure, if one is indulging in sinful activities. I was saying that. I missed one point. I was saying, I'll get back to that. This temple is strategically situated for informing people about Krishna. Krishna comes to this world to tell us about himself so that we can go to him. So the mission of Krishna, he doesn't have to come to this world, but he comes to lift us up. He's avatara. It means he comes down. And he comes down to lift us up. So this preaching of Krishna consciousness, that is fulfilling the mission of Krishna. And this temple is strategically situated in the heart of this highly important city. I believe that Srila Prabhupada said that New York is the most important city in the world. But London is also undoubtedly very important. So for preaching Krishna consciousness, this is the place to give people the books of Krishna, the name of Krishna, so that they can get information of Krishna. Most people have never heard of Krishna. What a great disaster to get the human form of life after so many births, and you go through it and never hear of Krishna. So this temple is meant for giving people. It's our duty to give them information of Krishna. Nowadays, more and more people have heard about Krishna by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, who gave amazingly Krishna book, the pastimes of Krishna, to people with no information of Krishna, not even the slightest understanding of Vedic culture. Many had never even heard at that time, many had never even heard of reincarnation. If they've heard of it, it's some vague thing that they'd heard about, no idea whatsoever. So, Srila Prabhupada had this Krishna book, passed out among such people, giving information of Krishna. That was actually the first book of Srila Prabhupada's that I read, and I didn't understand very much at all. I don't know if I still understand very much at all, but even the words, the names, the concepts, I couldn't understand much. But anyway, I went on reading because I understood this much, that there's something real here. So it's not like some novels or some folklore. You can get so many books of mythology and folklore. This is something real. So that is to be pursued. What do the common people on the street think? If you say Krishna, they think of... If you say Krishna, they don't think of Krishna, they think of you, the devotees. The people say, they say, oh, the Krishnas. Yeah, they're those people who wear those... Well, they don't say funny clothes anymore. It used to be wearing funny clothes, but so many other people have worn so many other more funny clothes that we no longer look funny. But nowadays it's quite common, unfortunately. You meet people and they say, they ask, what is this? They say, Hare Krishna. And they never heard of it. Unfortunately. Just a few days ago, I was on a plane going from London to Belfast, and I saw there was one man reading a book about, he had some book, Validating Theism. So that's a good book for a young man on a plane to be reading. In Ireland, in Northern Ireland, there's still many strong Christians. So they've taken up the theism versus atheism debate is taken more attention of. I met one of our devotees, another he's been a devotee for more than 30 years. I asked him, I mentioned Richard Dawkins, he'd never heard of him. So our own devotees need to be informed about these preaching issues. Richard Dawkins, if you don't know, is the world's most prominent atheist, to put it briefly. So I spoke to this young man, and I asked him what his impressions of the book are. I asked him what his inclination was toward theism or atheism. He said, well, I'm just trying to understand, but I'm more inclined to theism. Then he asked me what I said, Hare Krishna, have you heard of that? No. So these are the people we should be getting our books out to everyone. But people are interested. There are people who are interested in these topics.
How old was he, Maharaj?
Well, I didn't ask him. I guess he was about early 20s, I would guess. He was like that. And obviously a thoughtful person. There are such people in the world. So we should get these books out. That is the Krishna's message. He gives in Bhagavad-gita. And our message we got from Srila Prabhupada to distribute this. So Srila Prabhupada gave knowledge of Krishna. We may think, well, it's too much. People couldn't understand. Even I myself, when I first read Krishna book, even though I was definitely interested to read such a book, but I couldn't understand. But it had its effect. So let us, following Srila Prabhupada, give Krishna to others. And Krishna is within the heart. Sarvasya chahang hridi sannivishto matasmriti jnanam apohanam cha. From Krishna comes knowledge, forgetfulness, remembrance. So even though these books, we may think they're very difficult to understand, but they will have the effect on those who they are meant for. And of course there are other books also which may be given more easy introductory books like Coming Back, The Higher Taste, which is philosophy of Krishna consciousness presented in a easily mentally digestible form. Anyway, who is Krishna? Now more and more people are hearing about Krishna, learning about Krishna, and because Srila Prabhupada gave us this knowledge of Krishna, they're hearing about Krishna in the proper way. But in India, because there's a whole tradition about hearing from Krishna, and many people, or in India, Hinduism we can say in general. Hinduism means well, there could be many definitions given, vaguely based on Vedic knowledge, a whole bunch of concoctions and strange ideas linked directly or indirectly with Krishna, but usually with many, many misunderstandings. So in that sense, we're more fortunate to have heard from Srila Prabhupada. Because if we hear from others about Krishna, or from non-devotees, or from mixed devotees, because there is a whole tradition. Hinduism means pious, generally pious, but with many, many misunderstandings. So our mission is to give knowledge of Krishna to those who have no knowledge of Krishna, and to those who have knowledge but maya parita jnana. Their knowledge is taken away by illusion because they hear from the wrong people about Krishna. Just to give an example, and it's a horrible example, but these are the kind of things which demons in the form of saintly people are saying. One highly popular sadhu in India, he's not popular now, he's behind bars for sexual misdemeanors, accused of. I always used to say, he's a rascal, and people got upset. Now they don't get upset. But he was a rascal before he was locked up because of the things that he said, like this. He told a story, manufactured in his own mind, no doubt, or maybe it was manufactured in some other rascal's mind, that the Tukaram, the famous devotee of Vitthal, Krishna, in Pandharpur, Maharashtra. One day he went to the temple and Vitthal told him that you don't come here anymore. There's no need for you to come. He said, why? He said, well, now you're fully realized and you and me are the same, so there's no need to come anymore. Oh, what nastiness. How envious of Krishna while presenting a nice story. And people will, this is broadcast on TV, people think, oh yes, oh bhakti, yeah. You do bhakti, but then when you become realized, then you don't need to go to the temple. Then they're finished. You become the same as God. So Srila Prabhupada was so strong against this rascaldom, as he called it. As Krishna calls it, dushkriti, murha, these words are there in Bhagavad-gita. So although this is a very joyful celebration of Krishna, a devotional celebration, actual devotion will be if we properly understand who is Krishna. The Mayavadis will also celebrate, but in their mind they're thinking, Soham, he and I are the same. So there's no bhakti. There may be an outward show of bhakti, but it's actually all envy. So many people have many ideas of who is Krishna. Those who are atheists, they will deny that there is any God, and they'll say, well, if there may or may not have been such a person as Krishna, but it's inconsequential anyway, they will say. In India, most people, they think that, well, that's changing now. Many things are changing due to the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. Changing for the better, of course. But generally it's considered that Krishna is the 8th avatar of Vishnu. Is that correct or not? What do you say? No. It's stated in Shastra. Then what are you going to say?
What Shastra?
Vishnu Purana, for instance.
No, but
That's so something different is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. So what are you going to say?
We're going to follow Srimad Bhagavatam.
Both are true. As stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that if you want to accept Krishna as an avatar of Vishnu, it's not wrong because he appears like that. But if we want to come to the Bhagavatam conclusion, if we are to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, na Chaitanyat Krishna Jagati Paratatvam Paramiha, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Krishna. Who is Krishna? He's the Supreme Person who is the origin of all Vishnu forms, but who appears as the eighth avatar of Vishnu. So it's not incorrect to say that, but a fuller or more complete understanding is that Krishna, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami, Krishna is the origin even of the Narayana forms. So this understanding of Krishna as an avatar of Vishnu, mostly that's there. But if we consider like that, then we think the majesty of Bhagavan, that is the most important aspect of him. Whereas it's a question of perspective. Those who want to see God as most majestic, they will see him as Narayan, or maybe as Krishna also in Dwaraka. And those who emphasize the sweetness of Krishna, they will prefer to see him as the son of Mother Yashoda and Nanda, the cowherd boy in the pastures of Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his teaching is that Madhurja Bhagavatasa, sweetness is the essence of God's godliness. So Bhagavata means of Bhagavan, who is full in all opulences, that strength, this Aishvaryasya Samagrasya, Viryasya, power, Viryasya, Yashasya, his fame, Shriyaha, beauty, Jnana, knowledge, and renunciation, Vairagya. So one who's full in all these opulences, he is Bhagavan. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just looks from a different perspective, that his sweetness, that is the essence of Bhagavan. So those who say that Krishna is the eighth avatar of Vishnu, they're also devotees, they also worship him. That's also glorious. But Age Kahoa, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was speaking with Ramananda Rai about what is the goal of life and how to attain it, Ramananda started off by speaking about following Varnashram duties, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected that. Eventually, step by step, Ramananda came up to discuss Savadhaman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja, Krishna's ultimate teaching in Bhagavad-gita. Take shelter of me only, abandoning all other kinds of dharma, religion. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, that's external. Well, that's quite a teaching, isn't it? The highest teaching of Bhagavad-gita, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, that's external. That's not the essence. And we're distributing Bhagavad-gita everywhere. Is it wrong? No, it's correct. But it doesn't come exactly to the essence, which is love of Krishna. Taking shelter of Krishna to be delivered from all sins, that's not the essence of bhakti. Rather, the essence is, there's the story of the gopis who are willing to accept the sinful reaction of putting their foot on Krishna's head to relieve Krishna from a headache. So that, not even caring about whether I'm happy or unhappy or go to hell, only to serve Krishna with pure love. That is the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching. That gives the sweetness. The sweetness comes from giving ourselves fully to Krishna. And Krishna, who's the supreme sweet, he gives himself in reciprocation. So, there are many demons who want to criticize Krishna directly or indirectly. There's a theory that Vishnu, who is mentioned in the Rig Veda, that's some old texts, and meanwhile there was some tribal god who people worshipped in some village areas, because people in India, they keep cows, they emphasize, so they anthropomorphically they made a god who looks after cows. If there'd have been pig keepers, then they would have imagined a god who keeps pigs. And this tribal, this is what the mundane scholars said. So this folk religion became morphed with this philosophical Vishnu, and this is the origins of the Bhakti movement. These scholars. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for saving us from these people who have this intelligence to avoid Krishna in a very intellectual way. They avoid Krishna. They determined not to have any love for Krishna. And I'm very proud of it. We've come up with this theory and that theory. The others will criticize. He's immoral. He's a liar. He's a thief, even from his very childhood. He was born of good parents, but then it must have been something from his previous life. He had this habit of stealing, and he was very badly behaved. He was immorally mixing with the girls. We have to hear from proper devotees and understand, Janma karma chame divyam. Everything Krishna does is transcendental. Everything he does is good. Krishna's stealing, that is so good that up to the present day he is glorified as a thief. Vallabhacharya, he wrote this Choragraganya. What is it? Is it Ashtakam, Shatakam? I can't remember. But poem. Series of poems. Series of verses. Glorifying Chor, thief, Agraganya, the biggest thief. Where does he belong? The thieves should be put in the prison. But Krishna comes to the prison of this material world, performs such charming pastimes, steals our heart and takes us out of this prison and back to the world of freedom. So we're in the prison because we are thieves. We think Krishna is immoral. But we are immoral. If we think this woman is my wife, that is immoral. Really? I thought you're supposed to get married, and that's dharma, isn't it? To be married and just have a girlfriend without marriage, that's immoral. That's more immoral. But to think this woman belongs to me, actually belongs to Krishna. So if we think that this woman is meant for my service, then that's immoral. Because all the women, all the men, everyone is meant for the service of Krishna. Of course, that's a very high understanding. And in this world, we are to follow basic dharma in which the wife serves the husband, but it should be understood not just that the husband is serving her, but together they're serving Krishna. She is called Sahadharmini, or one who together performs activities of dharma. So people will criticize in various ways. There's quite a well-known picture of Krishna. It's quite widely circulated in the present time of baby Krishna holding down on his hands and knees with one hand holding a globe. This is circulated by a group of people called anyway, I won't say their name. Why pollute this assembly? They have the idea that actually Krishna didn't speak the Bhagavad-gita, Shiva spoke the Bhagavad-gita. What nonsense! And then how are you going to say, when Arjuna says to Krishna, Chanchalang himana Krishna, and they say that he addresses him as Krishna, and they say that anyway, one of their theories was that Krishna, he was very bad. He had so many bad habits, but he had some good things also. But next time he's going to come again, and this time he'll be completely pure. Poor Chitragupta. He has to. What sin? If you steal, if a person in this material world steals and lies and murders, it's not as bad as this blasphemy of Krishna, which is masked. It's set up to praise. Oh, he'll be very good, as if we are to judge who is Krishna. So avoid these Mayavadis who speak of Krishna, but their understanding of Krishna, even if apparently devotional, it's so wrong and it's so bad that it completely kills any real tendency toward devotion. So actually, if we are to celebrate Janmashtami, we have to celebrate it knowing properly who Krishna is, because there are so many wrong ideas, bad ideas. Krishna very mercifully appeared in the sacred land of Bharata Bhumi, nowadays in a truncated form as India. There's His great mercy that He appeared in that land, but His appearance in that land became a problem for the demons, not only when He was personally present. He killed all of them, directly or not all of them. He killed many of them directly or indirectly. Personally He killed so many, and through the agency of Bhima and Arjuna especially, He killed so many others. But some of them didn't die, and some of them are born again in Kali Yuga. Rakshasim Kalimashricha Jayante Brahma Yonishu. Some of them are born as Brahmins in Kali Yuga. They learned about Krishna from Shastra, and then they wanted to kill him by some philosophical manipulation. So Krishna becomes a problem for the demons because He's established in Bhagavad-gita as the Supreme Lord. He's established in Srimad Bhagavatam. But they do not like this. They are envious of this. So they want to twist that, and they do so in various ways. Therefore we should hear about Krishna from pure devotees. Otherwise there may be people who they may appear to be very pious, but then their understanding of Krishna is wrong. There's so many people who say, well, actually Shiva is supreme. And there are even scriptures which seem to support that Shiva is supreme. But that is to misguide those who want to be misguided. They may, at some level, they may need that because they're too sinful to surrender to Krishna, so they accept Shiva not knowing that he's also a devotee of Krishna. They accept him as supreme, and then at least they follow some Vedic principles. And if they get the full mercy of Lord Shiva, then he brings Krishna to this world. As Advaita Acharya, he brings Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to this world. There are others who also, they're Vaishnavas, but they don't accept Krishna as supreme. They'll say, our Ram is better. Our Ram was very moral. Your Krishna is not so good. This is, of course, another misunderstanding. No true bhakta of Ram will say that. But some say that. So many misconceptions have to be addressed. Janmashtami is a good day for devotees to themselves take a vow. Every day is a good day to take a vow. That now Krishna has appeared in this world, and next year there should be so many more people celebrating Janmashtami. Every year should be a bigger festival. Double it, Srila Prabhupada said. Double it. If we go on doubling, then within a few years it should be the whole world. By the doubling and doubling and doubling. Try to bring more and more people. But not just bring, we have to train them also in the philosophical understanding. We have to train people. Otherwise, simply to bring them, if they don't have a clear understanding of Krishna, then they'll have an unclear understanding. Just like I was saying, these people, for Krishna is a problem for them, so they misinterpret. And people, one thing I'm seeing in India, as I live there most of the time, that many people being inspired by Srila Prabhupada's teachings, the influence of his movement, they are, definitely Hinduism in general got a big boost from Srila Prabhupada's preaching. In fact, this was in the 1970s, there was a magazine, the Illustrated Weekly. What is it? What is that called? I even forgot the name. Illustrated Weekly of India. It died now. That it was a English magazine that every educated person, you could say, in India, they would read that. It got killed by India Today, another magazine. So on one issue there was a photo on the front page of Onkar Prabhu, who was the head pujari of Krishna Balaram temple, French. There was a photo of him standing in front of the deities with the headline, "Saviors of Hinduism." And when I first went to India to stay there, that was the mid-1970s, it was very difficult because some people appreciated, most people weren't interested. The young people especially were, many of them, of course it was different in different parts of India, they were quite offensive to the devotee. They would insult us. They thought, what is this stupid Krishna? They were very much influenced by atheistic propaganda. But times have changed, largely due to the influence of Srila Prabhupada and his movement. Another thing at that time, as soon as we started to speak that God, the Supreme, is a person, immediately there would be impassioned protest. No, no, no. You don't know. We're born Hindus. We know. You don't know. So times have changed, and there is definitely much more interest in Krishna, even in India. But others are being nourished by that. So many bogus gurus are coming up, and they'll speak something about Krishna, but they don't know Krishna properly. Evangyo veti tattvataha, one who knows Krishna properly in truth, Krishna says, they can get the benefit of knowing about me. If we know about Krishna, but we don't accept that his Janma, his appearance, being celebrated today, and his activities are transcendental, then we may become actually offensive to Krishna. It's so important to give these teachings clearly, with proper understanding. Therefore, our Acharya, Bhakti Vedanta, the Bhakti is the proper conclusion of all Vedic knowledge. Bhakti Siddhanta. To spread Bhakti, there are many who spread Bhakti. It's said that Mira and Surdas and Kabir, he's completely mixed up, Mayavadi, but they spread Bhakti. But Bhakti must be spread with Siddhanta, proper understanding. Otherwise, not only will the full benefit not be there, but due to misunderstandings, people, even though they come to know of Krishna, that won't benefit them properly. And they may even adopt sinful ideas, the idea that we are all one with Krishna. You see, it came on some TV program, some big Swami, some big teacher. No one most people think, oh, that's very nice. He's a big Swami, he's saying so. So we have a very great task to establish not only in this world bhakti or a general feeling of inclination toward Krishna, but make it very on the strong platform of what is that? Siddhanta balaya chitte na karaha alash eha hoite Krishna lage suriramanush. One should not be lazy in the matter of understanding Siddhanta. We may think, well, we can do all the activities of bhakti. We'll come to the temple, we'll offer something, we'll join in kirtan, This is bhakti. But bhakti becomes strong, the mind becomes firmly attached to Krishna, if we make the effort to understand who Krishna is as he is. Otherwise, that bhakti is not likely to become mature, and it may go off track also. So these festivals, Srila Prabhupada organized big festivals. It's Vaishnava tradition of big festivals. Janmashtami is a major festival. And people come that nurtures people who are pious and have some inclination toward Krishna. It helps to nurture that spirit within them. And especially at Bhaktivedanta Manor today, many pious Hindus will come for their annual visit, which is not necessarily a bad thing if they live, for instance, in Lancashire. You may not expect that, because many come from all over England. But for others who come from Rickmansworth, or just outside London, they should be coming more. But at least they come once a year. That's good. It's good for them that they come. But our thought should be, they're coming, they have some feeling of attachment to Krishna. That is their great fortune. But how to bring them to the stage that they want to fully be a devotee of Krishna, without conditions, without bringing in their own mundane ideas, or, yes, I go to the temple once, and in their home they'll also have some temple with all kinds of things. And how to bring them to pure devotional service. This is really what Krishna comes to teach. Krishna doesn't teach mixed devotional service. Of course, he gives some allowance for that. But what he really wants is, Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Surrender to me only. Manmana Bhava Mad Bhaktaha. Always think of me. Srila Prabhupada also came to this world on the day after Krishna's appearance, so it becomes a great celebration. He came not to simply organize some festivals in which people come once a year, but so that everyone can join in the Nitya Mahotsav. This name is given for Krishna. Just the last few verses of the 9th canto of Bhagavatam, they just set the stage for the 10th canto, for Krishna appearing. And one of the names given for Krishna, just in the last few verses of the 9th canto, is Nitya Mahotsav. He is a daily festival. We have every day we have a festival. What is a festival? Singing, dancing, happiness with friends, taking nice food, talking pleasing things. Happiness. Krishna is all happiness. Every single day. I myself was astonished when I first came to Bhaktivedanta Manor. Not to join. I didn't come to join. That happened. But when they got me up in the middle of the night, as I thought, and went to Mangalarti, and it was freezing cold, there was no money to heat the building, and singing and dancing in glorification of God at 4:30 in the morning. I thought, they do this every day. Oh, what amazing. Here are people who, they're young people, they could be enjoying so many things, but they're in the cold. They get up, and there was no hot showers in those days either. So cold shower. Visitor to the temple, there's no, now we're more mature. But in those days, you're up and you have a cold shower and go to Mangalarti. So there was no gradually bringing us in. I never heard of a cold shower. I don't think I even heard of a shower. And it's a festival. And they're happy. It's not that It's not that they're doing it voluntarily. Every day is a festival. So Janmashtami is we celebrate, but that's to give a taste. You can do this every day. You like this festival? Dramas, there should be dramas also. We don't do that every day. Dramas of Krishna's appearance, discussion of Krishna, every day. You can live like this all your life. And then when you die, you leave the body, you don't get born again. You go. Everything you've been doing here, you'll do there also. These are the activities of the spiritual world. Worshipping Krishna, dancing with Krishna. He's not just standing there. He'll be, in the Vrindavan, we'll be with Krishna. Face to face. It used to be. Radha Landanishwar. You think this temple room is small. You see Berry Place. It was maybe half the size of this. And the Krishna was so close that you could shake his hand. Almost. You had to be careful with the dancing. The dancing was strictly up and down only. So every day is a festival. Krishna comes to invite. I have all these notes here, but I'm not following them very well. Yeah, Krishna comes to invite us. Let's go back. You belong there. You can come there. We belong in the spiritual world with Krishna. He comes to invite us. By Prabhupada's grace, we're so fortunate that we can very easily understand who Krishna is properly. He is the original personality of Godhead, who some people say is the 8th avatar of Vishnu. Some people, they say he's some tribal god who someone imagined. Some people have no interest whatsoever. By Prabhupada's mercy, we not only know about Krishna, but we know who is Krishna. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the very name Krishna means all attractive. He is the Lord of our heart. He is our very best friend. Suhridam Sarva Bhutana. We are so fortunate. Everyone in this world, they don't know who their best friend is. And they take as friends people who will misguide them. Even the friends don't even know they're misguiding them. They think they're being a friend. Just like if someone comes and says, "Oh, I decided to join the Hare Krishna movement." Don't do that. I'm speaking as your good friend, good advisor. And they think they're actually advising them well. But by the grace of Srila Prabhupada, who is the friend of Krishna, he has come as a friend to give the message of Krishna. And we are so fortunate, we can very easily understand because we heard from Srila Prabhupada who is Krishna. But most people don't know. So we have this duty to introduce Krishna to others. Krishna is supreme. We must bow down to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada also said that at Bhakti Vedanta Mana. He said the duty of the pujari is when anyone comes to the temple. Srila Prabhupada happened to be in the temple room in a quiet time and some people came. The pujari was there. And that was actually Janananda Maharaj. No, he told me this. That, or maybe the pujari had told him, but he told me this. That Prabhupada had said when someone comes to the temple, the pujari should teach them to bow down. Don't fail to bow down. Should bow down. So much value in simply by bowing down to Krishna. All the false ego should go away. The tendency to bow down. In the modern world, no one likes to bow down, but death forces us eventually to fall down. But better we practice bowing down to Krishna. Serving Krishna, praying to Krishna. So every day is a festival, a happy day. More happiness. And there'll be more and more happiness when more and more people come What is the devotee's happiness? He's happy in Krishna's happiness. And what is Krishna's happiness? He wants more and more people. He's very greedy in that sense. He already has so many followers. He doesn't need our service, but he wants more. Everyone should come. Why are we suffering? Why are they forgetting me? He comes to call us. He becomes happy when he sees that we are happy at his lotus feet, singing, dancing, taking prasadam. Krishna, not today. Krishna becomes very happy in seeing that people have become happy. So our greatest offering to Krishna is to bring more and more and more people to Krishna and just teach them who is Krishna. It's not a difficult thing to understand. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are His eternal servants. Our full fortune comes in serving Krishna. We also have to know how to serve Krishna. So there's much education. Let us make Krishna happy by ourselves becoming pure devotees of Krishna and teaching others properly who is Krishna. We may think, well, all these misconceptions, that's just something in India and it doesn't matter here. But we must spread knowledge of Krishna more and more wide, and then we'll see the demons more and more. If we're not seeing the demons much, then maybe there's something wrong. Because when Krishna is present, then demons will show their face more. They become angry and upset. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's process is to convert the demons into devotees, but they'll have so many ideas, so many wrong ideas, so they'll criticize Krishna in so many ways. So we should be prepared, study these books, distribute these books, understand them. Understand Krishna means we have to understand Him through Bhagavad-gita, as it is, first of all. And Krishna, He is the son of Mother Yashoda, but first we have to understand that He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then, what does it mean He's the mother? So what? Everyone's got a mother. So why be so exuberant that Krishna is the son of Mother Yashoda? That He's the son of anyone is most astonishing, because He's the master of everyone, He's the origin of everyone. That is His kindness, His sweetness, that He becomes as if an ordinary human, just so that we can personally approach Him. As Srila Prabhupada said once, that people like to, they like to approach God, the magnificence of God. But we can't personally, because we're not magnificent. We're very small, very tiny living beings. We can't approach Him on that level. And Srila Prabhupada gave the example that if we like to see Krishna as the universal form, it's very difficult to relate and serve Him, because if you had to dress the universal form, all the cloth in the world would be exhausted, and still you wouldn't have enough. So Krishna very kindly comes in a form with which we can reciprocate with. That's the form of Radha, Landanishwar, Jagannath, Subhadra. We can reciprocate. It's very difficult for non-devotees or people whose theistic conception is not very developed to appreciate this. But Srila Prabhupada, he gave everything. He gave to people who had no idea. He gave the deities of Krishna to worship, that we can directly worship Krishna and offer Him food, flowers, clothes, ornaments, prayers, establish a direct relationship with Krishna. But then we have to understand the people who are of atheistic disposition or of semi-theistic, they will deny that God has form. They will say He's just a statue. Of course, Krishna's birthday is today. He also has a birthday in December. This Krishna. So every day is His birthday. In some universe He's getting born. Hare Krishna. I'm supposed to finish at 10:30. Any Questions, comments, protests? Not many protests today.
Just one thing, Maharaj. In regard to that Janma Karma verse in Bhagavad-gita, that Krishna is come, but he's not part of the existence. The previous acharyas have given one example to illuminate this a little bit, in that when sometimes we see a very, very dirty place, like in the corner of an alley or even on the street, and then we see the sunshine shine on that place. And although the sun shines there, it's not influenced or contaminated by the condition.
Apapavita. Srila Prabhupada used to use that term.
Yes,
That
exactly.
the sun shines even in a dirty place, but the sun remains aloof. It's not contaminated. But rather he cleaned by the action of the sun, things like if someone has urinated there, that will evaporate and make it purified. So that's one example given. Someone else?
Thank you, Maharaj. Yes. My question is, Krishna came to Earth 5,000 years ago. So what reason did the people have who lived here 6,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago to worship Krishna? How would they have known about him?
How would they have known about Krishna prior to that? Well, knowledge of Krishna is always there in human society among devotees. Just like, for instance, we have Prahlad Maharaj, long before Krishna's appearance, says, Matya na Krishne paratasvatova. He mentions Krishna directly. People who are sinful, their inclination to Krishna is not aroused. Prahlad Maharaj is described as Krishna Graha, which means he is like someone. There's the term Bhutgraha, which means caught by a ghost. So he acted like a madman. So Prahlad Maharaj was Krishna Graha. This term is given in Srimad Bhagavatam, which means he acts like a madman, but in thought of Krishna. So knowledge of Krishna is there, but that becomes more prominent when Krishna comes. And Krishna comes, Yada yada hi dharmasya glarne bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanang srijameham. When dharma is in great decline, then Krishna comes. So it may be that many people didn't know about Krishna. Someone will know. Always there's someone who knows. That's a commonly asked question, that Krishna came at the end of Dwapara Yuga. So how was the Yuga Dharma established? But in the Acharya's comments, we find that at the beginning of Dwapara Yuga, the sages and rishis, they established that as the Yuga Dharma. It's unusual. Once in a day of Brahma, that means once every 1,000. There's 1,000 Yuga cycles. Krishna appears.
8,640,000,000 years.
Yeah, that's a long time for us. Yeah, anything else? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You wanted to ask something? Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class.
Yeah, it's become a formality to say that. It should be wonderful. If we speak topics of Krishna in Parampara, then automatically must be wonderful. There's no harm to say so, but it's not required also.
I asked this question last year, could not find the answer, so I'm trying again out this year.
You're going to go on every year till you get an answer?
Google Acharya does not tell this clearly. Google Acharya does not tell
Google Acharya.
So,
no, that's...
Krishna book is not there and it's not there in other places.
Ask it.
So, I just wanted to know, Maharaj, Krishna grows up as a child and so at a particular age, at the age of around 5 years, Krishna is given the cows and the herd. So, once a devotee...
Well, before you go on asking, I'll tell you that Srila Prabhupada, sometimes when he was asked about the spiritual world, he said, you go there, you'll find out. So you'll get your answer. You can go on. If I know, I'll reply. If I don't, I won't.
So the question was, Maharaj, what age did Balram get his plough? What age did Krishna get his, weapons? Because those were also gifted in Vedic times.
Weapons, this Sudarshan Chakra was given by Agni. That was later, not in Vrindavan Leela. When Balaram, when he got that, it's the plough and the club, which are Balaram's weapons. He also uses the plough not only for ploughing, but as a weapon. Therefore, one of his names is Halayudha. He uses the plough as a weapon. As far as I know, there's no scriptural description of anyone giving that to him, but it's his eternal weapon. Therefore, we find in the Yamuna Karshan Leela that he called for his plough, and then his plough came. So, when did he get? It's always waiting there in the background. I don't know if there's any ceremony for giving a plough to a farmer. But rather the child will go with the father and just start doing it. He'll use the father's plough. So if you want, research more. And if not, then you have to wait for another lifetime. It's a technical question. Interesting, but it's a technical question. Not everything is described in the Shastras that we have. Everything's in Shastra, but the Shastras we have we think that the Srimad Bhagavatam is so big, but it's an abridged version. This is the Reader's Digest version. Because in Kali Yuga, our lives are short, our patience is short, our intelligence is very little, so not everything is given. There are so many details. So when did Krishna first start to wear shoes? Probably after he left Vrindavan and went to Mathura, but there's no indication of exactly when that happened. So there may be so many questions like that. Okay, so we should finish there. Hare Krishna. Question? You want to say something? You have a question. All right. Well, we have to ask if more questions are allowed. Slightly over time here.
One thing I always wondered: how can you call Krishna Makhanchor or stealing hearts when everything belongs to him?
How can you call Krishna the butter thief or the heart thief when everything belongs to him? In that sense he's not a thief, but if we take him as Mother Yashoda takes him, if you see this picture, if we consider him to be the son of Mother Yashoda, then we can consider him a thief. So one has to, it's a different perspective. That's why Krishna becomes the son of Mother Yashoda, and she doesn't know that he's God. Because if he's God, there's no fun. There's no stealing butter. There's no feeding him. Why are you going to feed him? He feeds you. You feed me. Give us this day our daily bread. But that's not a very, there's no loving reciprocation. Then there's no Vatsalya Ras. So, if you want to be strictly philosophical, then Krishna isn't the butter thief. But we don't want to be strictly philosophical. Always. Stealing the heart, as long as we think, I belong to me. I have my own individual existence separate from Krishna. Then we'll think that I don't belong to Krishna. But Krishna steals our heart and keeps it. He doesn't give it back. So in that sense, Krishna gives us individuality also. So we can choose to have our heart stolen by Krishna or not. Monoha is a well-known name of Krishna, stealing the mind. Chitta Chora. That's also a name that Vallabhacharya gives to Krishna. But it gives to Krishna means it's his eternal name, but he's glorified him as such. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Can I mention about my books? Okay. On Srila Prabhupada's order, I'm writing books. I think I published 17 now, something like that. So, without going in great detail, I'll just say that some of these books are available on a book table here somewhere, I presume. Probably out on the street. There's no space in here, is there? I don't know. Somewhere here. Where is it? Does anyone? Somewhere around here. Let's see if I remember. There's a Beginner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness. I think most of the devotees have this book. It's usually the first one they're given when they do. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Biographies, including a biography of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If you've read all of Prabhupada's books, then you can read that. Otherwise, you won't begin to understand it, I don't think. Did you read that at all? Yeah. Then Brahmacharya and Krishna Consciousness. My latest book is called Women, Masters or Mothers, addressing the issue of feminism as Srila Prabhupada taught us. Glimpses of traditional Indian life, and so on. There are many books. Devotees tell me that they... books about Srila Prabhupada. So devotees tell me that they feel benefited by reading these books. So you may also please